What's the stupidest way you've injured yourself? Put a knife into a slingshot to shoot my buddy in the ass. Believe it or not, there was no ill will involved. The idea popped into my head and my 14-year-old brain thought, holy shit, that sounds hilarious. Fortunately, the knife slipped and completely opened up the space between my thumb and forefinger. Internal stitches, external stitches and a thing that held my hand in place for a while. I felt dumb, it hurt badly, but at the end of the day I'm so happy I hurt myself instead of doing some serious damage to someone else because I wasn't thinking things through. Trying to clean the facial hair out of my razor, I sliced one of my fingertips slightly open. Less than a second later and irritated with blood dripping onto the sink, I quickly attempted to clean the rest of the razor exactly the same way with my next finger, resulting in another slight slicing. In my defense, it was very early in the morning and I wasn't yet a coffee drinker at that point in my life. Cut myself on frozen food. I put my finger in a fan to realize if the fan was spinning fast enough. Once, I banged my arm on a table. It was so deep I had to go to the ER and get stitches. Only made that mistake once. I now have a permanent scar because table. I was cutting a wire tie off a couch a month ago and stabbed myself in the wrist with a steak knife. Got a tetanus shot after that one. Okay, edit. Since this apparently is getting attention, I got the TDAP shot from my local pharmacy and it didn't hurt that much. It was a $400 couch from Wayfair for my grandmother. And I was not cutting toward myself, I was cutting straight forward, but the force I used sent my right hand towards my left one in a weird hard to describe with just text way. It was a sucky day. I was taping something up in my bedroom with duct tape, I don't remember what it was. I was using a steak knife to cut the tape, but I was having a hard time with it because 2 hands plus roll of tape plus strips of tape plus knife equals. So I did what any sane person would do. I jammed the knife into the side of a cardboard box, blade pointing outward, so I could easily cut the tape. I did this, while telling myself, this is stupid but I'll be careful and move the knife before I cut myself. The microwave with my precious little pizza rolls had beeped, and I went to get them. God damn it, what the fuck was that on my shoulder? JPG I walked past the knife and had caught my shoulder on it, resulting in me needing a number of stitches over 10. Edit. A few mobile typos. Once me and my boyfriend were fighting on my bed. He turned over and let rip the loudest fart, right on me, causing me to jump back in such shock that I elbowed the corner of my desk with such force I had to go to the accident and emergency for an X-ray. I'm laughing about it now, but it honestly hurt like a fucker. I thought I'd shattered every bone in my arm. I never told anyone that's how the injury happened either, I just told everyone something made me jump. Fell off my bed and broke my ankle. I was baked and baking and couldn't see the meat thermometer, so I leaned in and grilled my face a bit. I still look a bit like John Marston. I dislocated my kneecap on a dance floor. I destroyed my back putting on socks one morning. I couldn't move without spasms for over a week. To be fair, I had done a lot of snow blowing and shoveling in the prior days, but the socks were the last straw for my back, apparently. Went up for a rebound, no one around me, came down untouched, sprained my ankle. Long story short, I jumped. I fell about 15 feet off a balcony while in university and trying to hit on a girl. Was very drunk and didn't realize how thin the railing was. Hey, out and over I go. Got my arm caught in the bars on the way down, messed up my shoulder, and landed on my hands and face. Broke or sprained all of my fingers. Not a good night for this guy. Ran full speed into a pole balls first. It wasn't easy explaining it to my mom. Not me, but a friend of mine is the champion of hurting yourself in stupid ways. Broke his finger trying to pick up a stationary basketball, broke his toe walking down a flight of stairs, got a concussion playing dodgeball, had to take a couple days off school because he drank something really spicy. He was paid $20 to drink it. His parents found out, took away the $20, and then made him write a book report on a book with a title that was basically, How Not to Screw Up Your Life. A few months ago I was squatting at the gym and somehow managed to crack a rib in the process. For the life of me I'm not sure how I managed that. So my son wanted me to open his ice cream bar. You know, the good humor ones on the stick. I was standing next to the kitchen table. I dropped the ice cream and when I moved my hands down to catch it I hit the top corner of the chair with my wrist. Broke 2 bones in my wrist and spent weeks in a cast. I caught the ice cream though. Depends on what you mean by stupidest. If we're looking at an injury resulting from doing something stupid, then there was the time I got a corneal ulcer because I wore contacts at work. We were sandblasting. I knew it was stupid before I did it, but have you ever tried the over-glasses safety glasses? They're a pain in the ass and the bridge of the nose, and behind the ears. I had to sit in a pitch-black room for days, even the light from the TV on the dimmest setting was excruciating, dropping liquid fire into my eye at regular intervals. If we're going for, how the fuck did that even happen? Stupid, I once sneezed and, I'm pretty sure, pulled a muscle in my neck. No idea how it happened, but it happened and it hurt like a bitch. Jerked it too hard. I refuse to elaborate. I've dropped my phone straight onto my face while texting in bed. I was pretending to be a chicken and someone opened a door into my face. I broke my toe by turning around and stubbing it on a wall. Busted my nutsack on a mechanical bull at the Saddle Ranch in Los Angeles while in college. Right when I signed the waiver I said, what's the worst that could happen? I found out. Must have slammed my nuts into the saddle while doing it but didn't notice. Went to the bathroom later and while in line noticed my legs felt sticky. I put a hand down my pants and when I pulled my hand out it was covered in blood. My buddy asked what that was. I told him. Then said, watch, clean hand, bloody hand. While putting my other hand down and up to show the blood. Went into stall, blood all over both legs. Put some TP down there and went back to having a good time at the bar. At the end of the night, went to the hospital and got 8 stitches on my nutsack. Was a pretty fun night. I put 2 mattresses down on my stairs to turn into a slide. There was a radiator at the bottom of the stair which I failed to cover with a blanket or put a pillow in front of it because I was a stupid child. I slid down the stair a good few times getting more confident with each turn. The last time I slid down it I went a bit too fast and my foot ended up going up in the air. My foot hit the radiator and I ended up with 3 broken toes and a trip to the hospital. I was working for an IT company installing medical software for GPs. I was working in a surgery and the doctor's stethoscope was on the table. I put it on and started messing. I needed to fart so I farted in the stethoscope. Perforated my eardrum. Not me but my brother, him and his friend were playing FIFA and both are very competitive. It got to the 89th minute and the score was 1-1. My brother scored a last-minute winner and jumped up to celebrate. He landed awkwardly and ended up snapping his ankle. It's still the only time I've witnessed someone injure themselves whilst playing a computer game. I was maybe 10 and pulling weeds with a thing that looked like a fork screwdriver. Basically you'd shove it in the root and pull up. One especially pesky weed wouldn't let go so I pulled upwards with all my little might. It let go and I stabbed myself in the face right beside my eyeball. Luckily it just missed by I had a decent gash. Running back to the controller after going to the restroom and realizing the game wasn't paused. Rolled my ankle pretty bad. Played, who can get their hand closer to the burner? No one ever said you couldn't touch it so I won. Had the most excruciating circular blisters in the shape of a stove burner for a week or 2. I was studying in an awkward position on my stomach for an hour or 2, and I strained my lower back to the point where it was extremely uncomfortable unless it was in a certain position. That was fun telling my coach the next day I couldn't do any exercises. Threw out my back by opening a bag of chips. I sneezed and dislocated a shoulder. I've never really lived that one down. I also dislocated a shoulder getting overly competitive in a sack race. And I've also dislocated a shoulder just in my sleep. Recurring injuries are bitch and, unfortunately, shoulders are a lot like Pringles. Once you pop you just can't stop. I was injected with 2 large syringes full of heavy-duty detergent while drunk and unconscious on the floor. Intramuscular, not intravenously. He whacked the needles through my jeans and emptied them into my leg. I didn't know anything was wrong until the next day when I woke up and couldn't walk and started puking all over myself. I let a schizophrenic guy sleep on my couch while he was in a bad place. I nearly died of liver, kidney and heart failure and I nearly lost my leg. Spent just under 4 months in hospital and it took a year to regain the ability to walk. It was a bad time. At 49 years old, I decided to go snow tubing with the kids. It was really icy. I hit a bump and flew off. Ended up with a fractured fibula, 3 fractures in my ankle, 2 fractures in my foot, a torn meniscus, and nerve damage in my lower leg and foot. 3 surgeries, 12 screws and a plate in my leg, and 8 months off work. Good times. I was late for work, rushing around and getting changed. I was pulling my socks on whilst standing up because I'm a moron and thought that would be faster, lost my balance, hopped a couple of times before falling into the nearest wall. I had to explain this to a doctor and a nurse while they popped my dislocated shoulder back in place. I went to slide on my stomach on a hardwood floor. Smashed my chin on the ground and split it wide open. I was completely sober when it happened too, just bored. Punched myself in the face lifting something heavy when the plastic packing strap around it broke. Have myself a big bloody lip and a stupid story. Instead of turning on the light I walked to the bathroom in the middle of the night with all the lights off and ran into the door. Put a staple in my thumb because I was pushing the stapler against my thumb and I was apparently a very stupid child. I sneezed once and a hernia popped out of my belly button. I stabbed an X-Acto knife blade all the way into my palm while opening a new pair of boxing gloves. I knew right away what I did. The worst part was having to clean up the obscene amounts of blood I got all over the place. Sneezing and throwing out my back. Getting old stinks. I woke up at middle of the night and got off my bed and fell and sprained my foot. My dad was bowling once. On his backswing, the ball slipped out of his grip, happens to everyone who bowls regularly. Instead of letting it fall, he whipped around and tried to catch it. Instead, he got a broken finger as the 16-pound ball came smashing down on his hand. Bent down to pick up something I had dropped and ended up hitting my head on the metal frame of a chair and splitting my eyebrow LMAO. Let's pick up the lid of this burning stove. When I was an early teen, I wanted to see how my butt looked in new jeans. Unfortunately, the only mirror I had was the vanity in my bathroom, so I stood on the lip of the toilet opposite the mirror to see how they fit. I immediately twisted my ankle, fell off the toilet, and busted my head on the door. I had to go to the ER because I thought I broke my ankle. The doctor and nurses couldn't stop laughing. The doctor wrote me a prescription for a full-length mirror. When I was about 7 I was at a school disco, knee sliding and running around. Fell over and broke my arm. I was eating a meatball Hot Pocket while wearing a tank top. When I took the first bite the side of it split open and a molten meatball shot out onto my shoulder and burned me.